So imagine a classic high-end meditation studio. You know the exact vibe I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely. The ambient lighting, the expensive yoga mats.
Right, exactly. You walk in, the lighting is just super soft, maybe this warm amber glow. You instantly smell like sandalwood incense burning in the corner.
Usually some gentle wind chimes playing through these hidden speakers.
Yeah, the whole physical space, the entire aesthetic, it's completely engineered to be soft, yielding, and just, well, comforting. The focus is universally on relaxation, right? De-stressing, taking a deep breath, and kind of escaping that relentless, chaotic grind of your day.
I mean, the modern wellness industry has essentially conditioned us to view spirituality as a sanctuary. We treat it as this protective bubble from the harshness of the real world.
All
It's a
right.
place where you're explicitly told, you don't have to perform, you don't have to measure up, you can just simply be. It's an approach based entirely on emotional soothing.
Yeah, and this is a massive, but today, the sources we're looking at take that entire soft, gentle, comforting aesthetic, they crumple it up into a tiny ball and throw it directly into an industrial blast furnace.
A literal blast furnace.
Right. So the mission of this deep dive today is to explore spirituality and consciousness, not through the lens of feeling good, but through the surprisingly cold, hard, mathematically precise lens of rigorous protocol.
It's terrifying, honestly. We are looking at an absolute paradigm shift here. The framework we're analyzing today moves the pursuit of spiritual awakening away from, like, poetry and places it firmly in the realm of biological engineering and quantum physics.
Which is wild.
It really is. And to guide us through this, our source material centers entirely around the teachings, the daily routines, and the highly specific frameworks of an individual named Osman.
Right, also known as the blind Muslim Yogi.
Exactly, or by his online moniker, the Man from Oz. He's a master-level practitioner.
Yeah. Okay, let me stop you right there, because the moment anyone hears the phrase blind Muslim yogi, a very specific, almost cinematic image comes to mind. But as I was reading through his materials, something immediately tripped me up.
The visual descriptions.
Yes. In his videos, Osman constantly uses these highly descriptive, intensely visual explanations.
Yeah.
He talks about the specific colors of energy centers, the geometric shapes of vibrations, how light physically interacts with matter. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, if he's a blind teacher, how is he describing the visual, physical world with the precision of a sighted engineer?
Yeah, that is a crucial piece of context that really reframes his entire body of work. Osman is permanently blind, but that has only been his reality since May 2023.
Oh, wow. Okay, so fairly recently.
Very recently. For his entire life prior to that, for decades of intensive advanced practice, he had normal eyesight. He lived, practiced, and observed the world as a sighted person.
That makes so much sense.
Right, so when he describes the intricate visualization of the 114 energy centers in the human body, or the specific way a sound frequency creates a visual ripple, he's pulling from a lifetime of fully sighted experience. His visual framework is completely intact.
He simply operates without physical sight in the present day.
Exactly, which arguably forces an even deeper reliance on his other highly attuned perceptual faculties now.
Right, it adds this incredible layer of depth to his perspective. He has literally seen the world, and now he's perceiving that exact same world, but entirely through the mechanisms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Yeah.
And his goal, the whole mission of the guide we're decoding today, is not about finding 5 minutes of inner peace before your morning commute.
Not at all.
No, Osman is teaching what he calls advanced mantra practices. He completely abandons the idea of just seeking a calm mental state. His focus is on achieving cities.
Those profound, reality-bending mystical powers described in ancient texts.
Exactly. And completely altering the biological and energetic structure of your consciousness through sheer, overwhelming numerical volume.
He strips the romance entirely out of the process. For anyone listening, we're promising you a journey today that will actively challenge and probably dismantle everything you think you know about mindfulness.
Oh, for sure.
We're going to travel from the ancient mathematics of the Vedic tradition to concepts that perfectly mirror modern quantum entanglement, all with a heavy, unyielding emphasis on practical, mechanical execution.
I really want to get into the intense mathematics of this practice.
Yeah.
And trust me, we're going to do some serious mind-bending math today. But before we do, we need to understand the weight and the authority of the person making these immense claims.
Right, because context matters.
Because if someone tells you to completely abandon the standard, universally accepted way of meditating, you need to know their credentials. I mean, I'm not just going to upend my life for a random guy on the internet, you know? So who exactly is Osman? And what gives him the authority to demand this level of rigor?
Well, if we look at the timeline provided in the sources, the biodata of this master is frankly astonishing. Osman has been practicing advanced yoga and meditation for 50 years,
Half a century.
half a century of relentless, uninterrupted pursuit. And this wasn't a casual weekend retreat kind of hobby. He attained his first experience of samadhi at the age of 19.
And 19. Most of us at 19 are just trying to figure out how to pass a college exam or, do our laundry without turning everything pink.
Exactly. And to contextualize that, samadhi in yogic science is the absolute pinnacle of meditative absorption. It's a state of total non-dual consciousness, where the illusion of the separate self completely dissolves into the divine.
He's experiencing cosmic union while most people are rushing fraternities. And the craziest part of the source material is that he didn't just peak early and ride that wave.
No, the texts note he has maintained a daily kundalini awakening ever since.
And the sheer physical intensity of his historical practice is what really blew my mind. At certain stages of his life, his discipline required him to practice up to 18 hours a day.
18 hours. Think about the biological mechanics of that. An 18-hour-a-day practice leaves exactly 6 hours for sleep, eating, hydration, and basic biological functions. It is an all-consuming fire.
It pushes the human nervous system to its absolute outer limits.
Right, and even today, after 50 years of this, the sources indicate he still practices a minimum of 8 to 10 hours daily. As he puts it, he does this simply to sharpen the sword.
Just sharpening the sword.
Yeah, the foundation, the house is already built. The 10 hours a day is literally just his maintenance phase.
It's an incredible phrase. It honestly reminds me so much of the extreme human performance we constantly hear about on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when Rogan has David Goggins on the podcast, they talk about this exact kind of relentless 18-hour daily suffering just to callous the mind. Or when Rogan interviews Wim Hof about sitting in freezing ice water for hours to force the biology to adapt.
Or even his conversations with Rick Strassman about endogenous DMT, right?
Yeah. Yes. How the human brain can be pushed to experience entirely different dimensions of reality. Osman is basically doing what Goggins does for physical endurance, but he's applying it to the neurological and energetic architecture of the human body.
That's a highly accurate parallel. Osman is an ultra-endurance athlete of consciousness, but he isn't just meditating in a room for his own personal enlightenment. He applies this massive energetic capacity outwardly. He's a master-level bioenergy healer.
Right.
And his profile as a healer is fascinating because he utilizes telepathic healing capabilities that he explicitly states are based on the principles of quantum entanglement.
I really want to pause on that because quantum entanglement healing it sounds like a buzzword until you break down what he actually does. He doesn't just do general wellness checkups or like clear your chakras because you had a bad day at work.
No. He specializes in the most severe, terrifying cases imaginable. We're talking critical care in hospitals, intense post-surgical recovery, and terminal illnesses.
He steps in exactly at the point where standard allopathic medical interventions have reached their absolute limits and doctors have just run out of options.
And this brings up a massive point regarding the ethics of his practice, which Osman addresses with absolute clarity. He sets a very strict, non-negotiable boundary.
Which is so important in this space.
Yeah, his bioenergy healing is strictly complementary. It is designed specifically to enhance what might be lacking in other medical fields. He acts as an energetic bridge where allopathic medicine stops. But he's adamant in all of his materials that his work is never, under any circumstances, a replacement for standard medical treatment.
Which gives him so much credibility in my eyes. I mean, he's not one of those fringe figures telling vulnerable people to throw away their chemotherapy prescriptions and just chant a mantra. He's operating on a parallel track, addressing the energetic root while the doctors address the physical symptom. Now, because of this 50-year investment, this 18-hour-a-day historical grind, and his incredibly high success rate with these severe critical cases, his business model is structured in a very specific way.
It is. His premium energy healing services and his deep one-on-one consultations are not inexpensive.
And honestly, looking at the time debt he's paid, why should they be? You aren't paying for an hour of his time, you're paying for a half-century of extreme mastery.
Exactly. The exchange of value perfectly reflects the rarity of the skill. To manipulate energy at a level that influences critical care outcomes requires a massive expenditure of his own cultivated life force. However, what makes his mission so compelling is his immense generosity with the foundational mechanics of his system.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
While the premium healing is high-end, he offers extensive, completely free teachings on his YouTube channel, which is called The Man from Oz. He also runs paid tiers on Patreon for live daily video lessons, specific one-to-one consultations, and requests for group sessions.
But the central hub for all of this, where his entire philosophy is organized, is his website, right?
Yeah, yogawellness786.com.
I really want to drill this into the listener's head right now. You might be driving to work thinking, well, I can't afford a master-level bioenergy healer. But Osman is actively trying to give you the exact tools to do this yourself.
He really is.
For instance, I want everyone to know that you can go to yogawellness786.com right now and download a completely free 5-minute yoga and meditation program. It's just sitting there, completely free, designed to get you started on his highly specific methodology without hitting a paywall.
Right.
And just a quick note, if you followed him before, don't look for that $5 anxiety fix anymore, because that promotion is totally over. But the 5-minute program is still there, for free. He doesn't withhold the core information.
It demonstrates his true overarching mission. He wants to encourage as many people as possible to adopt a highly scientific, result-based, and vastly simplified methodology derived from ancient yoga and meditation sciences.
Simplified is definitely the goal.
Yeah, he has spent his lifetime tirelessly trying to simplify these incredibly complex, esoteric protocols. His goal is to achieve maximum biological and spiritual results using the easiest method possible, hoping to revive a lost science that could drastically improve current society, enhancing health, peace of mind, relationships, and even finances.
But I'm going to push back here, because when you look at his actual teachings, simple is, well, it's a relative term.
Fair enough.
Osman is blending traditions from everywhere. He's pulling deeply from the Far East, the Middle East, and the West. It reminds me a bit of Deepak Chopra, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Chopra built an empire synthesizing Eastern wisdom with Western scientific terminology. But Osman is doing it with a much, much harder, unforgiving edge. He takes ancient yogic math and marries it directly to quantum physics. So I have to ask, does this massive synthesis make his teachings more accessible to the modern learner, or does it just make it infinitely more intimidating?
It's a valid question.
Because now I'm not just sitting on a cushion trying to watch my breath. I'm basically studying quantum mechanics, advanced mathematics, and bioenergetics all at once.
I completely understand the friction there. That is the core tension of his entire body of work. It is deeply intimidating if you're looking for a soft place to land, but if you're looking for a structural, mechanical understanding of how reality actually functions, it's profoundly accessible because it operates on fixed rule.
Like a machine.
Exactly. When you synthesize the kind of rigorous discipline taught by Swami Sivananda from the Divine Life Society with our modern understanding of quantum fields, you completely remove the necessity for blind faith. You replace hope with hypothesis and biological testing.
And that transition from hope to mechanics brings us to his core thesis. We're moving from who Osman is to exactly how his system generates spiritual power. And his central argument is going to deeply offend a lot of people in the modern spiritual community.
Oh, definitely.
He champions vibration over vibes, quantity over quality.
It's a violent rejection of the modern wellness paradigm. To truly grasp how controversial this is, we have to look at the broader cultural conversation right now around mindfulness, healing, and peak performance.
Let's do exactly that.
Yeah.
Think about the biggest podcasts in the world right now. If you pull up the Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett, you see a massive focus on emotional and psychological quality.
Right.
Bartlett will interview Mo Godot about the happiness equation and finding inner contentment. He'll have Dr. Gabor Mate on to talk about how deeply felt trauma creates physical illness and how emotional processing is the only cure. Or he'll interview Dr. Joe Dispenza about deeply feeling the emotion of your future before it happens. It is all about the quality of your internal emotional state.
Exactly. Or look at Rainn Wilson's podcast, Soul Boom. Wilson interviews thinkers like Arthur Brooks about the science of happiness, or Reza Aslan about the historical evolution of God, or David Kessler on the deep emotional processing of grief.
Yeah.
The exploration of spirituality on these platforms is inextricably tied to emotional resonance and finding deep personal meaning.
Even on Lewis Howes's podcast, The School of Greatness. When Howes interviews someone like Sadhguru or has Joe Dispenza back on or talks to InQ about poetry and expression, the consensus always champions the quality of your emotional presence.
Yeah, that's the standard.
The modern world universally teaches us that if your heart isn't completely in it, if you aren't deeply, authentically feeling the practice, then you're just going through the motions. You're being fake and you're wasting your time.
And Osman delivers an incredibly blunt, almost mechanical rebuttal to that entire multi-billion-dollar industry of thought. He says, quite simply, yes, quality is important, but quantity is what keeps you on track.
Wow.
He argues that sitting down and relying on feeling amazing or feeling a deep connection to the universe for 5 minutes is a complete trap. It's a myth. He says that approach might work for 1 in a million genetic or karmic prodigies who are predisposed to drop into deep states instantly, but for the other 99.9% of humanity, relying on emotional quality fails completely.
Because human feelings are volatile. This actually maps perfectly onto the core philosophy of the Mel Robbins podcast.
Oh, the 5-second rule.
Yes. When Mel Robbins interviews someone like Dr. Russell Kennedy about healing somatic anxiety, or Dr. Tara Swart about neuroplasticity, or Robin Sharma about the 5 a.m. club discipline, the underlying theme is always that your motivation is garbage.
Right.
Mel's entire 5-second rule is built on the premise that you are never, ever going to feel like doing the hard thing. If you wait for the motivation to strike, you're going to stay stuck forever. Osman is applying that exact ruthless practical psychology to mantra science and spirituality.
Exactly.
And to make this abstract concept relatable, Osman uses an analogy that I am absolutely obsessed with. He calls it the finger in the fire analogy.
The brilliance of that analogy lies in its absolute biological simplicity.
He says, if you put your finger in the fire, it burns whether you mean it to or not.
Think about the mechanics here. This completely democratizes the practice of spiritual awakening. It strips the ego, the preciousness, and the emotional volatility right out of the equation. It establishes a pure mechanical cause and effect relationship between your physical action and your energetic reality.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if you're incredibly bored. It doesn't matter if you just had a screaming match with your spouse, or if you're exhausted, or if your brain is spinning out thinking about your grocery list, or how you forgot to send that crucial email to your boss.
Right. The fire doesn't care.
If your physical tongue is making the precise sounds of the mantra, the vibration is doing the work. The vibration is the fire. You do not have to believe in the fire for the fire to burn you.
If we look at the neurology behind this, it removes the need for belief entirely. When you chant a specific Sanskrit syllable, the vibration physically resonates in the hard palate of your mouth, which directly stimulates the vagus nerve.
And the vagus nerve is everything.
It is. It runs from your brainstem down through your abdomen, controlling your parasympathetic nervous system. Osman is saying that the sound wave, the actual physical vibration in your body, forces the vagal tone to shift mechanically. Your heart rate variability changes. Your brain waves shift from beta to alpha or theta. The machinery responds to the input, regardless of what your conscious complaining mind is thinking about.
Which means Osman is treating ancient spirituality exactly the same way Professor Andrew Huberman treats modern biology on the Huberman Lab podcast.
Oh, the protocols, definitely.
If you listen to Huberman interview Dr. Anna Lemke about dopamine, or Dr. Andy Galpin about muscle adaptation, or Dr. Jack Feldman about the neurobiology of breathing, the takeaway is always protocol-driven. Huberman will tell you, if you want this dopamine baseline, view sunlight for 10 minutes within an hour of waking, delay your caffeine for 90 minutes, and do a specific physiological sigh.
Right, it's an algorithm.
You input A, yet output.
Right.
Osman is delivering the ultimate spiritual algorithm.
Precisely. So if we accept Osman's premise that quantity is king, and that mechanical execution is the only thing that truly alters the biology over the long term, we have to look at math. The algorithm requires specific inputs.
Right. If I just have to put my finger in the fire, how long do I have to hold it there? Here's where it gets really interesting and honestly a little intimidating. What are the actual digits we're dealing with?
This is where we enter the true mathematics of enlightenment. And Osman starts by correcting a very pervasive foundational misunderstanding in the yoga world. We have to start with the number 108.
If you've ever stepped foot in a yoga studio, or if you've ever bought one of those malas, the beaded necklaces used for meditation that everyone wears around their wrists, the number 108, it's ubiquitous, it's on t-shirts, it's the name of yoga studios.
Because it is the cornerstone of Vedic traditions. The number 108 holds immense structural significance in the ancient texts. It references the 8 siddhis, those mystical powers like the ability to manipulate mass or travel out of body, and the 8 qualities of the divine.
Okay.
But the massive issue Osman points out is how the modern practitioner scales this number in their daily routine.
Yes, the scaling is where everyone completely drops the ball.
Yeah.
So a lot of meditation malas actually have 100 beads, not 108, simply because it's vastly easier for the human brain to count by hundreds.
Which is a huge mistake energetically.
And the common thought process for a dedicated yogi is, okay, I'll sit down and do 10 rounds of my 100-bead mala. That's 1,000 repetitions. 1,000 is a huge number. It's a nice round milestone. I've put in a solid hour of work. I'm good for the day.
And Osman insists that this approach is entirely insufficient for advanced energetic practice. The strict, non-negotiable minimum daily count is not 108, and it is certainly not 1,000. It is exactly 1,080. If you do 1,000 repetitions, you must consciously manually add the final 80 repetitions. Or, if you use a traditional mala, you must complete exactly 10 rounds of 108.
It's like a combination lock. When I read this in his materials, this analogy popped in my head immediately. Think of a high-security safe. If the digital code to open the safe is 1080 day, and you punch in 10000, the safe doesn't care that you were really close.
Not at all.
The safe doesn't give you partial credit for trying hard. It's just an open. If you do 1007, the lock doesn't turn. If you do 1009, you've bypassed the mechanism and it stays locked. It's a binary digital code required by the universe.
It requires absolute precision. Now, Osman is highly educated. He acknowledges that if you consult other scholars or read different softer spiritual texts, they might argue that 1,000 is perfectly fine, or that the exact number isn't as critical as long as your devotion and love are present.
Right.
But he is unequivocal regarding his specific methodology. In his lineage, and for the highly volatile quantum-level energy work he is teaching, this mathematical precision is non-negotiable. You must secure the final 80 to close the energetic circuit.
Okay, so 1080 is the floor. That's just the baseline to keep your foot in the door so it doesn't slam in your face. But Osman isn't teaching us how to just stand in the doorway looking inside. He wants us to climb the entire mountain. And the mountaintop, what he explicitly calls level 1 accomplishment, is a number that honestly made my jaw drop when I read it.
He requires one core,
which translates to 10 million repetitions. 10 million.
This is the biological and energetic threshold where the mantra's power is fully actualized in the practitioner. At 10 million repetitions, the practice is no longer something you do as an activity. It becomes something you fundamentally are. The vibration permanently alters your physical DNA, your neuroplasticity, and your energetic structure.
10 million. It's a number so large, the human brain struggles to even conceptualize it in terms of daily action. So as I was going through the source material, I literally pulled out my phone calculator to break down the timeline for you, the listener. Because Osman left out 4 distinct paths to hit this number, and you basically have to choose how you want to pay this massive debt to the universe. Let's walk through them.
So the first option is what we can call the slow path.
Right. You're a regular person, you have a 9-to-5 job, a mortgage, maybe a couple of kids, a commute. You can only realistically commit to the bare minimum daily requirement of 1,080. You do exactly 1,080 repetitions every single day, without fail. It will take you roughly 27 to 30 years of uninterrupted practice to hit 10 million.
30 years. It is a literal lifetime commitment. It requires you to integrate the practice into your identity as deeply and thoughtlessly as eating, breathing, or sleeping.
But let's say you look at 30 years and say, I don't have that kind of time. I want to move faster. You can choose the accelerated path. Osman says that once muscle memory kicks in, the physical mechanism of chanting changes. You can easily do about 3,000 repetitions a day.
Yeah.
Now, to a novice, 3,000 sounds like it would take 5 hours, but he uses this brilliant analogy about reciting the alphabet. Think about how fast you can say the alphabet right now. You aren't consciously thinking A, then B, then C. Your tongue just fires off the sequence automatically.
Exactly.
Once your tongue learns the mantra to that degree, 3,000 reps only takes about 30 minutes of rapid-fire articulation.
The tongue begins to operate almost entirely independently of the conscious, struggling mind. It becomes a subcortical reflex. At 3,000 a day, your timeline to reach 10 million shrinks dramatically, from 30 years down to about 9 or 10 years.
10 years is still a massive chunk of your life, an entire decade, but it feels like a project a highly driven person can actually conceptualize. But wait, there's the high volume path. If you have serious discipline, like David Goggins level discipline, you could push it to 10,000 repetitions a day. That takes roughly 1.5 to 2 hours of solid, rapid-fire, unbroken chanting every single day.
2 hours straight.
At 10,000 a day, you hit the 10 million mark in exactly 3 years.
3 years of intense, daily, multi-hour sacrifice. That is where you truly start to see the level of dedication required for advanced mastery. But incredibly, even 10,000 a day isn't the ceiling in his lineage.
No, it's not. Because Osman casually mentions his own teacher in the text, who took what we have to call the extreme path. His teacher did 100,000 repetitions a day.
That number is just...
When I read that, I stopped. I literally did the math out loud. I said, wait, there are 86,400 seconds in a 24-hour day. To hit 100,000 reps, you have to do roughly 1.15 repetitions per second, continuously, for 24 hours straight without sleeping, eating, or drinking. Biologically, physically, how is that even possible with vocal cords?
If you're relying on physical speech, the vicary stage of sound, it is biologically impossible. You would destroy your vocal cords in a matter of days.
Right.
But in advanced tantric and Vedic sciences, which you frequently hear discussed deeply on the Ranveer show, when Ranveer interviews scholars like Rajarshi Nandi on Tantra, or Abhijit Chavda on ancient Indian history, or Swami Mukundananda on the mind, there are different levels of chanting.
Oh.
Osman's teacher was likely utilizing monastic chanting. This is purely mental chanting. Once the neural pathways are so deeply carved into the brain, the mantra repeats at the speed of thought. It taps into the gamma wave frequencies of the brain, allowing hundreds of repetitions per minute internally, completely bypassing the physical vocal apparatus.
That is mind-blowing. So his teacher is essentially running a supercomputer program in his brain, vibrating the sound internally at hyperspeed, 100,000 a day. By maintaining that all-consuming immersion where you aren't working, socializing, or doing anything other than acting as a biological machine vibrating a sound, his teacher hit the 10 million mark in roughly 3 months.
3 months. And this illustrates a beautiful, albeit terrifying, universal law within Osman's mathematical framework. The cost is fixed. 10 million is the hard price of entry.
Yep.
You can pay it in tiny, manageable installments over 30 years, or you can pay it in one massive, agonizing, reality-shattering lump sum over 3 months. The universe, the quantum field, doesn't care about your personal schedule or your comfort. It only cares about the math. The equation must balance.
But just when you, the listener, are sitting there thinking, okay, 10 million, I can do that in 10 years, I'll be a levitating Jedi by 2036, Osman delivers the Rishi Vasishta reality check.
Yes. He brings up Rishi Vasishta to keep our modern, instant gratification egos firmly in check. Vasishta is one of the most revered ancient sages in the yogic tradition.
He's a legend.
According to the lore, to achieve maximum ultimate accomplishment, Rishi Vasishta required not just 30 years, not just one human lifetime, but 7 lifetimes of continuous, unbroken practice.
7 lifetimes.
Yeah.
So 10 million is literally just level 1. It's the entry fee. It gets you through the front door and into the lobby of the building. It doesn't put you in the penthouse.
It perfectly tempers the modern desire for a final endpoint. There is no finish line. There is only the next deepening of the frequency.
Now, because these timelines require immense discipline over years or decades, the logical next step we have to explore is how a human being actually survives this regimen in the real world. Because let's face it, life is messy. We get sick, our cars break down, we have family emergencies.
Which brings us to the ultimate test of accountability in his system. Osman enforces what we can call the strict no-miss rule.
He compares the practice to daily hygiene. You don't skip brushing your teeth for a week just because it's your birthday. You don't skip taking a shower because you're on vacation in Hawaii. The practice must become that deeply ingrained. It must be completely non-negotiable.
Right.
And because life loves to throw curveballs, Osman highly recommends securing the win early. He strongly advocates for the 4 a.m. block.
The logic behind 4.0 a.m. is unassailable. At 4 p.m., the world is asleep. Your boss isn't emailing you. Your kids aren't awake. There are no demands on your time. If you wait until 8:00 p.m. to do your 1,080 reps, the chaos and exhaustion of the day will inevitably conspire against your practice.
But I'm sitting in my car, and I have to ask the ultimate anxiety-inducing question on behalf of the listener. Let's say I choose the slow path. I'm a dedicated student. I am on year 26. I've done my 1,080 every single day without fail.
Yeah.
I am incredibly close to the 10 million mark.
Okay, setting the scene.
And then I get a horrible case of the flu. I am hospitalized with a 104-degree fever, or there's a massive sudden family tragedy, and I physically, biologically cannot do the practice that day. I miss a day. Does 26 years of intense daily work vanish? Do I go all the way back to zero?
If the energetic system were that fragile, it would be impossible for anyone living in a physical human body to succeed. This is where Osman's system reveals a mechanism of profound mercy, though it is still strictly, coldly mathematical. He introduces the concept of the 10,080 checkpoint.
The save point. When I read this, my jaw dropped. It is brilliant.
Yes, it functions exactly like a save point in a long, difficult video game. Osman's system operates on energetic locks. Every time you complete a block of exactly 10,080 repetitions, which roughly equates to 10 days of the absolute minimum practice, that specific frequency is permanently locked into your body's energetic signature. It crystallizes. It cannot be lost.
It's banked. The check has officially cleared in the universal bank account. Let's actually analyze the biology of this, because it maps perfectly onto the neuroscience discussed on the Huberman Lab podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
When Huberman talks to Dr. Andy Galpin about physical adaptation, or Dr. Jack Feldman about the neurobiology of respiration, or even Dr. Anna Lemke about resetting dopamine pathways, they all talk about neuroplasticity. It takes a specific volume of repeated novel stimuli over a certain amount of time for the brain to literally grow new neural pathways in the basal ganglia.
That's the exact mechanism.
The 10,080 repetitions isn't just a magical number. It is likely the exact volume of mechanical repetition required for the human nervous system to structurally alter itself and turn a conscious effort into a permanent autonomic baseline.
That is a phenomenal synthesis. The yogic math is simply the ancient articulation of neuroplasticity. So, practically speaking, if you miss a day, you do not lose your lifetime total. You only lose the unsecured floating progress since your last checkpoint.
That's such a relief.
Right, so if you're 5,000 reps into a brand new 10,080 block and you get the flu and miss a day, those 5,000 reps vanish. You drop back to the last 10,080 lock.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It means Osman has designed a completely foolproof, robust system. It balances absolute, terrifying mathematical rigor with the forgiving reality of the human factor. It penalizes you for slipping up. Losing a week's worth of intense, multi-hour chanting is deeply painful, but it doesn't destroy your 26 years of progress. It keeps you in the game.
It thoroughly acknowledges that we are biological creatures subject to illness, fatigue, and circumstance, while still demanding the absolute highest possible standard of daily accountability.
Okay, so we have the math. We have the grueling, multi-decade solo path mapped out. Now, human nature being what it is, normally, when someone hears all of this, the 30 years of discipline, the millions of repetitions, the terrifying reality of Kundalini energy, their very first instinct is to look for a shortcut. And in the spiritual world, the shortcut is almost always a person. You go looking for a guru. You seek out an enlightened master to initiate you, to zap you with their energy, to give you a massive jump start so you don't have to do the 30 years of math yourself.
It is the traditional, widely accepted model of spiritual transmission, known in Sanskrit as diksha, or spiritual initiation.
Right. And this sparks a massive, drastic, almost violent shift in the source material today. Because Osman drops a shocking, highly controversial claim here regarding gurus.
He issues a literal 5-alarm warning to his students. He categorically states, stay away from gurus.
He classifies 99% of them as ruthless bastards and, more importantly, explicitly labels them as energy vampires. This is such a violent departure from the mainstream accepted spiritual narrative.
We have to deeply contextualize how dangerous and heretical this statement is to established spiritual dogma. Think about the most famous spiritual texts of the 20th century. If you read Paramahansa Yogananda's Autobiography of a Yogi, which is the book that essentially introduced yoga to the West, the entire narrative structure is built on the absolute necessity and the profound, infallible grace of the guru-disciple relationship.
Right, the guru is everything in that book.
The guru is presented as the divine, perfect intermediary. If you look at the traditions of Swami Sivananda, or the profound historical bond between Ramakrishna and his brilliant disciple Swami Vivekananda, the guru is revered above almost all else. The guru takes on your dark karma. The guru lights the spiritual fire within you when you cannot.
But Osman is looking at that exact same dynamic and saying, no, they aren't lighting your fire, they're stealing your firewood.
That is the exact sinister dynamic he describes the theft of human life force. Osman's theory is that many regular, unsuspecting people walk around with massive latent spiritual gifts or a huge untapped reservoir of high-voltage life force. They don't even know they have it.
Yeah.
But these gurus who have developed a certain level of spiritual eye or energetic perception through their own practices can clearly see this glowing potential in the crowd.
And instead of selflessly helping the student cultivate that energy for their own liberation, the guru initiates them under the guise of teaching and blessing, only to siphon and drain that energy.
Yeah.
They use it to sustain their own immense power, to fund their own spiritual manifestations, or even to extend their own physical lifespan. They are literally drinking your spiritual blood.
While this sounds like the plot to a dark fantasy novel or a sci-fi movie, it actually aligns perfectly with a darker, more cautionary vein of spiritual literature that rarely gets mainstream attention.
What kind of literature?
Well, if you read the harrowing accounts of Gopi Krishna, who documented the terrifying biologically destabilizing effects of unguided Kundalini awakening, or if you look at the clinical psychological work of Dr. Bonnie Greenwell on spiritual emergence and Kundalini crises, you see the extreme, tangible danger of manipulating this energy.
And you hear about this specific dark reality all the time on Rick Archer's podcast, Buddha at the Gas Pump, or BATGGP.
Yes, constantly.
Rick has interviewed hundreds of awakened people, and a recurring tragic theme across his specific episodes is the phenomenon of the fallen teacher. When Rick interviews people like Igor Kufayev about the sheer volatile power of Kundalini, or talks to Jack O'Keefe about ethics and the horrific abuses of power in spiritual leadership, or speaks with Dr. Bonnie Greenwell herself, the pattern is undeniable.
The pattern of abuse.
Exactly. A guru gains immense energetic power, but completely lacks the moral, psychological foundation, leading to the devastating abuse of students financially, emotionally, psychologically, and, as Osman points out, energetically. Osman is basically saying, don't even risk it. The odds are 99-1 against you finding a pure teacher.
It is a radical stance that forces the seeker to completely reclaim their own energetic sovereignty. But if we accept his premise, if 99% of gurus are predatory and off-limits, you, the listener, are left in a very precarious, frustrating position.
Totally.
How on earth are they supposed to safely awaken this immense, dangerous Kundalini energy themselves without going crazy or frying their nervous system?
Exactly. You can't just tell me the woods are entirely full of wolves and then refuse to give me a map out of the forest. So Osman provides the map, and his map completely bypasses the guru. He advocates for the DIY protocol. He teaches self-initiation through highly specific pranayama, which is advanced ratio-based breath work.
And he provides a highly technical biological rationale for why this DIY method is actually structurally superior to a guru's initiation, not just safer from abuse.
Yes, the anatomical difference between the Sushumna and the 114 centers. Break this down for us mechanically.
In traditional yogic anatomy, when a guru initiates you and they give you that powerful, sudden zap of energy, often called Shaktipat, it typically only forces its way up the primary central energy channel of the spine, which is known as the Sushumna Nadi. It's a highly localized, intense, vertical clearing.
It's like taking a high-pressure fire hose and shooting it straight up a single rusty pipe. It might clear the pipe, but it's violent and can cause massive damage to the surrounding structure.
Precisely. But Osman argues that the human energetic anatomy is vastly more complex than a single pipe. According to his framework, there are 114 distinct major energy centers or chakras distributed throughout the entire physical body. His specific DIY breathwork protocols are geometrically designed to safely, systematically unblock all 114 centers simultaneously.
So instead of a single violent fire hose up the spine, you're gently, methodically turning on the irrigation system for the entire agricultural field all at once. The result is a much more comprehensive, biologically stable, and secure awakening.
Right.
He actually notes in his materials that because this method is so holistic and fully integrated into the body, it frequently leads to rapid, controlled out-of-body experiences for his students because the whole energetic vehicle is coming online in unison, not just the central nervous system.
If we step back and connect this to the broader picture of how we understand self-improvement and biology today, Osman is doing something revolutionary for the spiritual space. He is stripping away the mysticism and replacing it with biology.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is where the biohacking parallel becomes undeniable. Osman is treating ancient esoteric spirituality exactly the same way Professor Andrew Huberman treats biology. It's protocols. And you see this exact same attempt to merge ancient science with modern biology on Lewis Howes's School of Greatness. When Howes interviews Wim Hof, they don't just talk about feeling good in the ice. They talk about adrenaline, brown fat activation, and deeply altering the pH of the blood through breath.
Yeah, changing the actual chemistry.
Or when Howes interviews Dr. Joe Dispenza, they map out exactly how meditation changes brainwave states from high beta stress to coherent alpha and theta. Osman is delivering the ultimate ancient biological protocol. You arrange your breath in this specific mathematical ratio, you hold it for this exact count, you use this specific sound vibration, and you forcefully trigger a physiological energetic result.
It completely strips away the necessity for reverence or mystique. It's not about praying hard enough to a deity. It's about correctly executing the biological code. And what is perhaps the most surprising aspect of this entire deep dive is how he distributes this highly guarded information.
Yeah, this is crazy.
He gives the code away for free. He explicitly directs people to his YouTube channel, The Man from Oz, and tells them to look at his favorites playlist. The exact breathing protocols required to do this are just sitting there, accessible to anyone with an internet connection. But he pairs this unprecedented free access with another very intense survivalist warning.
Keep it a secret.
Absolute, total secrecy.
He says do the protocols, do the math, unlock the 114 centers, but shut up about it. Do not announce your newly found spirituality to the world. Do not put a lotus flower emoji in your Instagram bio.
No yoga influencer posts?
Exactly. Do not start dressing like a guru, because if you do the math, you will light up like a massive energetic Christmas tree in the quantum field, and you will immediately attract those exact 99% of energy vampires you're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
They'll see you shining, and they will come to feed.
It is the ultimate stealth mission. You are essentially building a nuclear reactor in your basement, and the most important rule of survival is not to tell your neighbors you have uranium.
So after all of this, after decades of terrifying math, locking in 10,080 checkpoints, avoiding parasitic, blood-sucking gurus, and keeping your intense breathwork a total secret, what is the point? What is the actual, tangible, real-world application of unlocking these 114 centers and doing 10 million repetitions? If I'm not allowed to show it off, what do I do with it?
Not look at the end point. Why build the reactor? And the sources provide a very concrete, beautiful, and deeply moving example of this immense power in action.
The Sweden story. I love this part of the material because it grounded all the math in profound compassion. Osman shares a story about his remote healing work with an animal foundation in Sweden. Remember, he's a master telepathic healer specializing in critical care.
Right.
And he is tasked with a massive undertaking, sending remote telepathic healing energy to 200 severely traumatized animals.
Yeah.
Animals suffering from intense PTSD resulting from severe abuse.
And to facilitate this massive energetic transfer, he collaborated with a woman at the foundation named Emily. Now, according to the text, Emily possesses an extraordinary, highly specific gift. She has the ability to communicate directly, telepathically, with plants and animals. She can literally interface her consciousness with theirs to understand their trauma.
Now, most people hearing this would immediately think, wow, Emily's a mutant. She's an X-Men character. She's got superpowers. She's a magical anomaly. But Osman, looking through his framework of math and biology, doesn't see it that way at all, does he?
Not in the slightest. This is the exact moment where his entire vast framework beautifully crystallizes. Osman views Emily's abilities, interspecies communication, telepathy, remote energy healing as completely natural, latent, dormant biological functions. They aren't magic.
Just biology.
They are standard hardware features built into the human vehicle. They're simply switched to the off position for the vast majority of the population because we have lost the user manual.
So the math, the 10 million repetitions, the opening of the 114 centers, the agonizing 4 a.m. wake-ups, it's all just the password. It is the specific administrative code required to log into the back-end settings of your own biology and flip that dormant switch from off to on.
It fundamentally redefines what it means to be a human being. We constantly look at figures like Osman or Emily or the ancient sages as complete aberrations of nature. But Osman's entire life's work is pointing a finger directly back at us and saying, no, you're just deeply asleep. The machinery is sitting right there inside your chest and your brain, perfectly intact, waiting for you to simply do the work and turn the key.
It's staggering to think about. Okay, so let's synthesize this massive, reality-bending deep dive. We started this hour expecting soft lighting, ambient chimes, and gentle wellness vibes. Instead, Osman handed us a digital calculator, a biological schematic, and shoved us into a blast furnace.
We really went through it today.
We did. We moved completely away from the necessity of feeling your practice, landing on the cold, immutable mechanics of vibration. Over vibes, the profound realization that the finger in the fire burns you, regardless of your belief.
We meticulously mapped out the terrifying mathematics of enlightenment, the strict 1,080 daily minimum, the brilliant 10,080 save points that biologically protect your progress, and the ultimate staggering horizon of level 1 accomplishment at 10 million repetitions.
We navigated his stark five-alarm warnings against the 99% of gurus who operate as predatory energy vampires, opting instead for the absolute empowerment of self-initiation through his free, mathematically precise biological breathing protocols. And we ended with the beautiful realization that all of this grueling effort is simply the key to waking up the dormant superpowers already sleeping inside our own biology, as seen with Emily and the animals in Sweden.
It provides a profound, jarring contrast to the modern mindset of self-improvement.
It really does. Think about the modern, desperate desire for a hack. We love quick fixes. If you listen to a giant like Tony Robbins, and Tony is incredible at what he does, he'll give you brilliant, highly effective strategies for a quick state change.
Change your posture, change your life.
Exactly. Clap your hands, radically change your posture, scream, and snap yourself out of a depressive neurological loop. And that is incredibly valuable for daily productivity, sales, and basic emotional survival. But Osman is offering the exact opposite of a weekend seminar hack. He is offering a multi-year, all-consuming silent grind for a completely different scale of human evolution. You aren't just trying to have a slightly better Tuesday at the office, you're attempting to literally rewrite the source code of human consciousness.
And for those listening who actually feel the terrifying call to attempt this, I want to remind you that the resources are completely available and entirely accessible.
Yes, you have to explore his free YouTube channel, The Man from Oz, and go to his website right now, yogawellness786.com. I cannot emphasize this enough. That is where you can find that free 5-minute yoga and meditation program to start. Download it. It's also where you can find his Patreon, the live daily lessons, and all the details for his premium complimentary bioenergy healing services if you or a loved one are facing critical, terminal issues that standard medicine simply isn't resolving.
Which leaves us with a final lingering thought to dissect. Throughout human history, we constantly complain that enlightenment, deep spiritual meaning, or true cosmic power is unfairly hidden from us. We tell ourselves it's kept behind closed doors by elite gatekeepers, or that it requires a massive leap of blind, irrational faith that our highly logical modern minds just can't make.
We deeply want to believe it's hidden, so we have a valid excuse for not finding it. If it's a secret, it's not our fault we aren't enlightened.
Exactly. The secret protects our ego. But Osman completely destroys that excuse. He argues that the keys aren't hidden at all. There is no secret society. The keys are literally just mechanical math and specific breathing ratios. It's a simple, foolproof biological formula sitting right in front of us, completely free and accessible on a YouTube playlist.
Yeah.
If the ultimate reality-bending power of the universe, the latent ability to heal remotely, to connect telepathically with other species, to permanently alter the structure of reality is simply a math equation requiring exactly 10 million repetitions, the terrifying question isn't whether you can do it.
Right.
The mechanics prove you can. The truly terrifying question is whether you're actually willing to sit down in the dark at 4:00 a.m., sacrifice your comfort for a decade, and do the actual work. Are you ready to face the calculator?
Oof. That is the question. Are you ready to face the calculator? You don't have to believe in the fire. You just have to be brave enough to put your finger in it and hold it there. We'll leave you with that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.